it's a really posh term, a bit of jargony term for just looking at and having in mind overall patterns about how people are thinking. So when you're listening to your clients talking, for example, I'll just give a couple of examples. Are they thinking about problem or are they thinking about outcome? What's the
Mm.
general trend of their thinking? Now, this is something which we might bring to their attention when we're goal setting in conventional kind of transactional coaching. This is what you have. What do you actually want? Are they thinking problem or are they thinking outcome? Are they in their thinking patterns and the way they express themselves? Are they thinking about what they want to move towards or what they want to move away from? Are they thinking future or past? Are they thinking optimism or pessimism? So these are big polarities I'm talking about here, but it's
Does
about
that
looking at where
mean,
they might be.
sorry to chip in, Phil,
No, of course.
and I may be wrong on this, but does that mean that you have to have a sustained relationship with them or several coaching sessions in order for you to identify those meta patterns? Or can this be done on a shorter time scale with a client where you've
Yeah,
limited
I mean,
time?
I think it varies. I mean, sometimes it becomes quite obvious early on. You know, if somebody, for example, is always thinking about what might go wrong,
Mm.
that would also feed into the black hat sort of thinking. They're
Yes.
thinking about what might go wrong, what has gone wrong. You might just quickly think, well, what would going right look like for them? What would happen
Mhm.
if they focused on things going right? What would happen if they started to focus more on possibility than things which are getting in the way? So it
Mm.
can happen quite quickly. You just might get an insight from just the way that somebody is framing their
Mhm.
issue. You might detect a pattern in how they're thinking about it. Other times, as you say, it might be something which begins to establish itself after a more sustained period of time in the coaching relationship, and it might be something which just you don't initially see, but eventually becomes apparent that this is what they tend to do. These are the
Mm.
patterns of thinking they tend to work with. So in my mind, a meta pattern is just an overall kind of tendency in their thinking, which we might want to draw their attention to and be aware of ourselves.
Do they ever come to you with their own view on their meta pattern? I'm thinking of something I might sometimes say to you. Oh, you know me, Phil. You know me, Phil. When you ask me how I am, I'm, I will give you an honest answer and might sort of dwell on the less than positive.
Yeah. I mean,
So I know I recognize in myself, but I
yeah,
don't change it. And it might not actually be true, from the rest of my, but it's something that I think about myself. Do you take that
yeah.
at face value or do you explore
I
that?
think I'll acknowledge it. I think I'll
Yeah.
acknowledge it. And potentially say, and how's that been working for you? I might ask the
Mm,
question, how's that been working for you? You know yourself.
mm,
You described yourself to me a number of times in the same kind of way.
mm,
My view would be that way of thinking has had some positive benefit
mm.
for you in the past, maybe
Mhm.
even now. But I'd also wonder how it might be restricting you potentially.
Yes. Yeah.
If you were to think about something in a slightly different way, what possibilities might that open up?